How were you raised to think about Africa?
So to me, Africa has always been explained to me as the motherland. That's where we were derived from. So Africa to me is the motherland where my ancestors came from. They were dragged from there to here in this cruel country, excuse me.
Do you feel Africans are separate from African Americans?
I definitely do. And the reason why I say that is because if you ask an African, someone that wasn't born over here, they never, ever, ever consider themselves African Americans. They always, just try to put down African Americans. They deny they're African American, which is fine. That's fine with me.
Do you think Africa is a home for African Americans?
I do. Like I said earlier, that's the motherland. That's where my ancestors came from. I feel like that's, yeah, I do believe that.
What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means, what does freedom mean to me? That's a good question. Being free, being able to do whatever I want to do, as far as anything. So being able to capitalize on anything I want to. That's what I say.
Do you feel free as an African American? Explain why or why not.
No. I don't feel like I'm free because even though, there's no more segregation and things, there's still a lot of issues going on in the Black community and things that we face every day that just are inhumane. And just don't really fit under, what can I say? Things that are going on would not, just wouldn't fit under being free, or being considered a free woman. Not saying that this personally happened to me, but, as an African American, I see African Americans killed every day. And, we have freedom of speech, and it's just like certain things that go on in this world. It's just kind of weird to me how African Americans are held to a standard that, let me put it this way, white people are held to a higher standard than we are. Things that they do, they can get away with, but if we do it, it's way worse. So in that way, we're not really free. We're not free. Of course, they're going to think, they're going to make us think that we're free, but we've never been free. Ever.
Who is your African American hero and why?
Who is my African American hero? Good question. Ooh. I'm going to say it's a couple of African American. I have a couple of African American heroes. Martin Luther King Jr., Medgar Evers, Malcolm X. The list goes on. Anybody who went out of their way to speak publicly and risk their lives to do things for our rights and, for me to live a better life than they did is huge to me. So anyone who risked their lives, anyone who was beat brutally is a hero to me.
How were you raised to think about Africa?
I was raised to think about Africa as in that is where we as African Americans originated from.
Do you feel Africans are separate from African Americans?
I do feel like we have separate cultures, I would say. They're similar in some ways, but they probably do certain things differently than we do.
Do you think Africa is home for African Americans? Explain your answer.
As home as reference to like where we originated from, but as far as like born and raised home, I wouldn't say that.
Okay. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means that you're able to express yourself in different ways, have your own opinions. Just basically, you're free to do or say, like, basically whatever you want to say. Things like that.
Do you feel free as an African American? Why or why not?
Yes, I feel free. In reference to back in the day, I didn't have freedom. Well, African Americans didn't have freedom to, read, write, things like that. But now we are able to be free. But there's still individuals who are treating us as if we're not equal.
Who is your African American hero and why?
My African American hero would be those like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, all those individuals who had a big key part in us gaining our freedom today.
So, with the responses given, I still feel as though there is a lack of education within the Black community as far as where we came from, how we got to where we got. I do correspond with some of the answers that were given. For instance, in the first interview, when she said that, we pretty much all originated from Africa, and that is our birthplace. Do I believe it's home? I do believe it's home. I think it is the actual home, where we are destined to be. But, we are in America, so there goes that. As far as the disconnect between Africans and Americans, which surprised me in the first interview when she said that they think they're better than us. That's something I've never thought about. I've never looked at it to where Africans thought they were better than we were. I've always viewed it as a lot of African Americans, disconnect themselves from being Africans. I've never, tried to take it into effect that some Africans do, not believe in being an African American because of the differences that we do have. For instance, one of the examples provided with it, like they go into business for themselves, they don't work for people, they work for each other. And which is something that I think that although we, African Americans may view as, oh, they, don't want to be a part of us. I mean, maybe that's how they connect. And maybe, there's something that we need to learn from them, how to connect and work for each other instead of, trying to one up one another. As far as that goes, I do believe that there is still more teaching to go within the African American community to all put us as a whole to be, united so we can change things. I was pleased with the answers I got, and I do think that it is a good step in the right direction for African Americans as a whole to know where they came from, to know who they are, because that is, the groundwork of the basis, basically, of trying to figure out what to do next, of how to achieve unity, freedom, and justice for us all. If we know where we're from and we know where we came from, we know what we're about, we know our strengths, we know things of that nature, there would be no stopping us.